Have you ever played against Antispin and been frustrated? Let's have a look at the best way to play against the Antispin rubber. So what is Antispin? Antispin is a rubber that looks very much like an inverted rubber. I've got them both red on this racket just to see if you can see the difference. So that is the inverted rubber with spin. This is the anti-spin rubber. As I said, looks really similar. And that's what makes it a little bit more confusing for my opponent as well. Now, the properties of anti-spin are that there's very little grip on the surface of the racket. This is normal rubber. You can see the ball grips and comes back. This is anti-spin rubber. There's not much spin on the ball, as opposed to an inverted rubber that grips the ball. The other thing is that an anti-spin rubber has very little speed and it absorbs the speed of the ball because the sponge underneath it is quite soft as well. So as opposed to the inverted rubber where the ball's going to bounce a little bit more. So let's have a think now about how do we try to combat this. The first thing is to think about what can they actually do with it. Firstly, they can't generate their own spin, so they're relying on the spin that you give them to hit the ball and to reverse it and generate the spin. So the first thing is they can't generate spin. Secondly, it's difficult for them to generate speed because, as you saw, it's a very dead rubber. So using those two things, we can start to now formulate a bit of a plan. So firstly, thinking about the speed of the ball. When they're hitting with the anti-spin rubber, you need to remember to stay closer to the table because the ball isn't going to have a top spin. It doesn't have much speed and it's going to almost die on you and keep you close to the table. So I want you much closer after you hit to the anti-spin rubber. The second thing is because it doesn't generate its own spin and reverses the spin that you give it, you can start to dictate what spin you get back. So I'll explain that a little bit. If I put backspin on the ball and they hit it with the anti-spin rubber, it's going to come back to me with a little bit of topspin. So my backspin comes back as topspin. If I put topspin, it's going to come back as backspin. Now, I'm dictating the spin that's coming back to me. So don't be scared of the anti-spin rubber. Often players that use anti-spin have a deficiency with their topspin strokes, so that's why they utilize the anti-spin rubber. So don't be afraid to go to the anti-spin side. And the second thing is to make sure that you play against it as often as you can, because then you'll start to react a little bit more naturally to the ball coming back off the anti-spin. We're used to hitting a ball, they hit the ball back, and we're used to it coming back like an inverted rubber with topspin. Now, I'm playing with topspin, they're doing that, and the ball's coming back with backspin. So my brain just takes a little bit longer to adjust because it's not normal. It's not what I'm used to. Play against it more and you will become used to it. Often players avoid the anti-spin and play to the other side. So if I'm using anti-spin on my backhand, they'll play the ball to the forehand side all the time. That's okay. But if you start to understand the effects of the anti-spin, that becomes a much more effective tactic to actually exploit the anti-spin side.
Make sure to check out the PingSkills website. We've got heaps of step-by-step tutorials, expert tips, training plans. Plus, if you've got a table tennis question, you can ask it right there on the site, pingskills.com.